either slightly different from what they are, or we see things are normal.
Welcome to Strange Familiars. If you have a story of something strange, an encounter with the paranormal, or a story you think we should cover, you can email us. Our email address is strangefamiliarspodcast@gmail.com. So the audio we played at the end of last episode, people seem to overwhelmingly agree that it was a cow. So we'll go with that. The witness didn't think a cow could have been that close. We're in the dense woods that were nearby there, but indeed someone said it sounded like a mother cow and a younger cow, and perhaps the younger one was stressed out because it was in the dense woods. So we crowdsourced it, and the crowd seems to think cow, so we'll go with that. Also, last episode, episode 62, we talked about the Mirror Man and the Mirrored Flannel Man, or whatever you want to call those entities that Jedediah saw. We got some really interesting information. First, a lot of people noted that another podcast, Monsters Among Us, has had several of these Mirror Man encounters that witnesses have called in about. We're going to try to get some more information on the Mirror Men thing and present it here. But we did get some really, really neat information, a really neat tip on another just very, very interesting thing that possibly links this Mirror Man syndrome and Flannel Man. And we're going to do an entire episode on that pretty soon. So tonight's show, we have a really, really interesting encounter. You may have heard us talk about it on Where Did the Road Go? I was on 2 recent shows about people with strange stories from the woods, and this is Alex and Colin's story. Soraya read it on the first show we did from Where Did the Road Go, and then we did a little bit of a follow-up on the next show. However, I was able to get Alex and Colin to come on and tell their story themselves. So if you listen to Where Did the Road Go, this might sound familiar, but I think it's really, really powerful coming from Alex and Colin. Their story is in 2 parts. The first part will be in this episode, and we will follow it up with a patron episode. This episode mostly tells the story of that night where they got separated, and Colin kind of got lost in the woods and had a pretty interesting, extreme, and scary encounter. On the patron episode, which should be available shortly after this one for patrons, we get into some of the stranger aspects of their encounter, including this kind of weird witchy woman that they see. Welcome, Alex and Colin. You're both there, right?
You bet. Yeah, we are.
Awesome.
Hi, Tim.
Hello. So we talked about your story on Where Did the Road Go? A little bit, yep. But now we have you guys, and I know we share some listeners, but it's such a good story. I'm sure some people aren't going to mind us going over the same story again.
Yeah.
And it'll be neat to hear it told with the both of you in person anyway.
We have sound effects too, so.
So let's get into it. Let's just go, and you guys can tell your story, and then we'll talk some other stuff as well.
Okay, where to begin? We were on our way to Penticton in BC. I had a driftwood sculpture that I had to install there. So we made the drive. It's like a day. It's a whole day drive. I needed some help, so I brought my friend Colin along to help.
Okay, can we pause here?
Yep.
So are you a sculptor by trade?
Yeah, driftwood sculptor.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. The last one that I did, the public art sculpture, was actually a huge Sasquatch on Quadra Island.
Have I seen that maybe? Like a picture of that online, perhaps?
You may have. Yeah. It went kind of viral. So
yeah. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it looked really cool.
Yeah. We actually... Well, did we do it before the apples? I think we did. No, it was in between. It was after the first. Yeah, it was after the apple story.
Original, yes.
Yeah.
That's
8 feet tall, just standing out on Quadra Island, and it was really cool to actually like see it come together and experience the like immensity of it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as an artist, I'm fascinated because sculpture is. I do a little bit of carving, but not anything that I really have entered much into. So I'm going to take a sidestep here and ask a couple artist questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How do you put it together?
A series of a whole bunch of screws and nails.
Oh, okay.
Start with one piece and add on the next, and yeah.
Okay, very, very cool. And is this a full-time?
Yeah, it's a full-time gig. Started about 2 years ago. It was actually a date idea for a girl that I was recently dating. I had been a mural artist, kind of struggling mural artist for ages and ages. And I just stumbled down to this, and I asked her, hey, do you want to go build a driftwood dinosaur on the beach? And she was like, nah, I'm going to go for a walk with my friend instead. And I was like, well, okay, well, I'll just do it myself then. And 4 hours later, I had a driftwood velociraptor on the beach, and everybody up here just loved it, and I couldn't believe the response. So I kept on going with it, and now it's my full-time gig.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. That's so inspiring whenever people get to do something they love, and I love hearing it. So that's great.
Oh, it's so great. Like, I'm out on the beach like almost every day. You know, the beach is like the best studio ever, and I get to work with all these natural materials. They're all random shapes and forms, and it's just such a pleasure, like fitting them together and making some really cool stuff that people have never really seen before.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if it's okay, can I share a picture of that sculpture?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Oh, that's because it was really, really cool. I remember seeing that. That's really neat to put that together. Very cool.
Nice.
All right. Well, anyway, back to your story.
Okay. Oh, where was I?
You had barely started before I interrupted you. We can start again. You were installing a sculpture.
Okay, so we were installing a driftwood sculpture in Penticton in BC, and didn't want to make the entire trip back. Like it was a drag. Like, it took a while to install. We didn't get much sleep, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do the whole trip back to Vancouver Island, man. So Colin's like, oh yeah, well, why don't we just like camp somewhere? I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. So he suggested Hope.
Yeah, Hope. Yeah, of course. Right.
It's like I don't know why you said that.
I've just been there before, and it's a beautiful spot. So it's just like, let's.
Yeah, I've never been there either, so I'm like, yeah, cool, camping adventure, all right. So, we make the trip to Hope, we pull in, get some supplies. First on our list was some warmer clothing. We had brought our tent and everything, like a huge 2-room tent that we set up at the client's place in Penticton. So we had all our camping gear. We just didn't have any warmer clothing. And the weather, I think this was late August. End of August. So we were really, the weather can change out here. So we stopped into the only thrift store in town, new to you.
Grab some sweaters.
Yeah, to grab some sweaters and maybe get some rain gear if they had any. So we're poking around the thrift store, and I got this nice kind of wool coat, and I go up to the counter, and the lady behind the counter, behind her, there was a UFO book, a series of UFO books on the back shelf there. I was like, oh, well, I've had some experiences in that, so I'm curious. And I asked her, what's with the UFO book? She's like, oh, my husband wrote it. Yeah, we live in town here, and he wrote this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll buy a copy of that, for some reading on the camping trip. I don't know if you know the author Jason Horsley.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, it was an interesting read, but yeah, so we got to talking about, abduction experiences and the trauma associated with it and how it can lead to other things. It was a very interesting conversation. But the whole time, there's this old woman standing at the very end of the counter, I guess just listening to the conversation. I thought she was waiting in line. And so when the counter lady and I finished discussing, I was like, hey, you want to, we're looking for a free place to camp out here. Do you know of any spots? And she's like, don't really know. And then the old lady at the end of the counter pipes up, Union Bar Road. And she's just staring at me, looking at me. And I'm like, oh. And the counter lady, I think her name is Michelle, actually. Michelle says, oh, right, Union Bar Road, of course. Trafalgar Flats, yeah, that's a good spot. And I'm like, oh, cool, right on. So she proceeds to draw out directions on a Post-it. And the whole while, this old lady, she's maybe 4.5 feet tall, maybe 5 feet tall, dark overcoat. It looks like an Eastern European,
Ukraine or
Ukrainian, Eastern
Polish.
European, Polish, Russian. She's just staring at me, and she's got this weird bright red mushroom-shaped wig on her head. I was kind of taken aback when I first saw her, but the whole time Michelle was drawing out the directions, the lady was staring at me, and she said, it's in the bush. It's the bush. It's in the bush. And she kept on going like that for probably I think she said it 4, 5, maybe 6 times. And I'm trying to be really polite. I'm like, yep, that's where we want to go. We want to go in the bush for some free camping. So I got the directions and got my coat and headed on out. And then Colin came up to the counter and go ahead.
Okay, I came to the counter to get the sweater that I picked out, and she immediately, she was standing there the whole time. She interrupted, she's like, oh, sorry. And she pointed to this sweater, it's hanging up in the shop. It's up in, you have to get something to take it off with a hook and stuff, right? And I was next in line, and she's like, no, I want to see this sweater that's just hanging there.
By she, you mean the older woman?
Yeah, the older woman.
Yeah, the older woman. She wanted to see the sweater, so then I'm like, okay. And then, they went and looked at the sweater or whatever. I'm like, no worries, right? And then, she's like, okay, she didn't want the sweater. She came back to the counter, and I'm like, oh, so did Alex find a place to camp? And she's like, yeah, Trafalgar Flats, right? And when she said that, the old lady said herself, it's in the bush. It's in the bush. And she said this 3 times. And she was like, I was like, yep, yeah, awesome, right? Yeah, we're going camping. That's perfect. Yeah, free camping, right? So
yeah.
Okay, but just the thing was that she interrupted me to get this coat off the shelf that just been sitting there forever. I don't know why she would say she could have done that. I don't know how long she was there. She totally just stepped in front of me on that. But I don't know.
So we headed out. We grabbed some groceries and stuff and went out to the flats. It took about half an hour. Really potholed logging road. And we got to the place that we thought, and it was quite crazy. We were taken aback. It was, I guess, a fishing camp. I assume it was a First Nations fishing camp. I think it was the First Nations Reserve. And there was tents and shacks and drying racks, old campers, old trucks,
dried out salmon, on the rack.
Salmon carcasses hanging on the
everywhere.
rack, and there was garbage everywhere, absolutely everywhere,
abandoned.
Yeah, and we got in, and it was in such contrast to the beauty of the place. At first, I was like, oh, ugh. But looking at the Fraser River and the hills and the sand flats, I was just like, oh man, we gotta stay here. This is just too gorgeous. And I felt really comfortable there. I think you did too.
Oh, of course.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's absolutely
spot.
beautiful. Kirby loved it. He's ripping
Yeah,
on the beach.
brought my dog Kirby. Yeah, so we parked the truck and just kind of looked around, went down on the beach and ran around with Kirby. But I was really like looking for recent signs of people being there because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Being there. We're looking around for like recent signs of people being there. The only thing that we could see was like an old pack of buns sitting on like a big pile of cans, and the expiration date was like 3 weeks prior. So we're like, okay, yeah, it's all good. So we poked around a bit more, and we're yelling out for people, hey, is anybody here? Is anybody here? And didn't hear anything. So we're like, oh yeah, okay. So we set up the tent on this really cool sandy plateau overlooking the river. It was just awesome. And I'm really, like, I've had a lot of weirdness and strangeness in my life, very bizarre experiences. So I've kind of attuned myself to picking things up and looking and noticing, because you never know what's going to pop up if there's like little weird things. So I'm always noticing my surrounding environment. We set up our tent like 20 feet in front of a picnic table that was back in a ring of trees. And one thing that I did notice, because I was like, when we got in there, I was looking for signs of people being there. One thing I did notice was that the picnic table was empty. So there was nothing on the picnic table. So we set up camp, made a fire, put some tunes on, and I went back to the truck to get a drink. And when I passed the picnic table, there was something on it. It was a half bottle of Orange Crush and 2 fresh green apples just sitting at the base of it.
That weren't there previously.
They weren't there previously. No, I absolutely 100% sure they weren't there. And I was like, Colin, did you put these apples on the table? He's like, no, what are you talking about? Like, these weren't here before.
Oh, what are you talking about, man?
No, yeah. And it was weird because, like, when we were in Picticton, the client actually said they would give us breakfast in the morning. And breakfast was, they brought out 2 bowls, and there was a couple of scones in there, and two green apples. Yeah, so it's like, it just kind of, it piqued my interest that there was these 2 green apples there. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever, let's just kind of bizarre. And I was so tired from the trip that I was just like, okay, well, I'll just set it out of mind and we'll just relax. And like, what a gorgeous spot! Like, just sitting there, and there's trains going across the river and behind us, and like it was just awesome. So I went back up to the truck again, and I noticed that nothing was on the top of the picnic table. And the Orange Crush bottle was now on the seat of the picnic table. And so I was like, hey, Colin, you didn't move the apples, did you? He's like, no. What are you talking about? I'm like, well, the apples aren't here anymore. What? And you tried to say that it was like,
well, yeah,
like animals.
Kirby, or there's an animal. I mean, I wasn't thinking about like anything. Like, it was just like, okay, I don't know, man. The apples, I don't know. There's obviously an animal in the area.
Well, I was like,
I don't know. Like, I don't think there was animals.
I was like, well, an animal wouldn't have put them there in the first place.
Well, what about Kirby, right? What about Kirby?
I know Kirby doesn't like apples.
Kirby didn't touch the apples.
Kirby didn't touch the apples. No.
Did you happen to notice if there were apple trees in the area?
No, there was no apple trees in the area. No, this was out on the Fraser River. It's
dude,
like, yeah?
There's an apple tree at the bottom of Union Road. Remember that when those dogs chased us?
Oh yeah, okay.
There was apples there, man, on those trees, dude.
Okay, I didn't.
That's not too far off.
That's not too far off. Yeah.
So somewhat close. There.
Somewhat close, yeah.
But not hanging over the picnic table, presumably.
No. This is out in the bush. It's cedar, it's fir, it's ferns, it's moss.
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
like,
there's no.
Yeah, there's no There's no apple trees out there
It's
whatsoever.
probably what 3K. From
Yeah,
any other house, right? Like it's
3 or 4
it's
kilometers
down there. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So a good way away. It's not like
Oh,
these apple trees were right beside the picnic table. Then, in other words.
No.
Okay, all right.
So, because I've listened to a lot of Sasquatch Chronicles over the past year and a half, ever since I first discovered it, and also a lot of other podcasts like yours and Where Did the Road Go, and so I've absorbed a lot of the weirdness that is associated with Sasquatch interactions, and particularly gifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, this might be a gifting. I mean, we are in a hotspot for Sasquatch sightings. There's been a lot of sightings around this area. So I said to Colin, hey, this might be some activity here. If things happen, just keep calm and, whatever. Just keep calm and...
I'm oblivious to all of this.
So Colin, before this, you weren't a big, really into the stuff?
No, I mean, I'd listened to a couple podcasts and stuff, but, nothing. Yeah. No, I wasn't.
Yeah, we had listened to them together when we were doing some work, and it's fun, just hanging out with the podcast and doing work.
Sure, yeah.
Especially with the Bigfoot stuff and Sasquatch stuff, and so I was I kind of told him about gifting, infrasound, braiding, poltergeist activity, stuff like that. Yeah, I just said, hey, yeah, let's just chill out and hang out for the night. If things happen, things happen. But I did actually buy a box of peaches in Penticton. And I was like, well, heck, I'm going to gift back. Why not? So I took 2 of the peaches and I put them on the picnic table and I replaced the crush bottle. I put them on the picnic table. And I was like, well, I'll make another little gifting here. So I walk about 60 feet up the trail, the drive, and found a stump on the side of the drive, and I put 2 there. Nothing really happened during the night. I checked on the peaches, and there was no activity. We didn't get any sounds or anything, just nothing. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, checked again a few times, nothing, no activity on the peaches. So I was like, okay, well, whatever, that was kind of weird. So we pack up, put the dog in the truck, and pretty much ready to go. And I was like, I'm just going to check on those the peach stump one last time. So I walk up, and as I'm walking up, I hear this sound off to my right. And it was like a thud on wood. It sounded like somebody had slapped a log. And I was like, whoa, what the? And so I'm stopped, listened. Okay, nothing more. So I walk 10 feet up to the peach stump, and the peaches are still there. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll walk back, and then we'll go. So we got in the truck, pulled out, and I was going to go up that drive. But at the last second, I just kind of I'm going to go out to the right and check on, and just drive by those tents again. And so I'm turning around, and then Colin was...
Dude. Look.
He's like, look, what the... And right where I had walked past, right in front of the peach stump, there was an 18-inch stick standing straight out of the ground with the 2 green apples shoved onto it. One was halfway down the stick, and then one was shoved onto the top.
Yeah, stuck onto the stick.
I mean, oh yeah.
And they were fresh. They weren't browned. They weren't weren't brown. They were
So we stopped at the truck. We looked at it. We're like, what the? Because I was just there. I had just walked past that spot.
So this is
2 times in the last 5 minutes prior. So it's kind of whoa, what?
Okay, so somebody's here. So either this is I don't know if they're there's something there. I don't know. It's either somebody really weird. Just you'd have to be pretty weird to.
Oh yeah, if this was a human, you'd have to be pretty damn bold to.
I mean,
and quick.
Dude,
and quick.
And like Kirby, like he's really like, you know.
Oh, Kirby is super
everybody that drives by the acreage, he just barks like he would know that somebody was there. He would lose it.
And
there's no way.
He was totally calm the entire time. But this stick was like so weird, and I pulled it out of the ground. We looked at it. There was no browning on the apples. Like, it was like super, super fresh. And so we put it back in, took a picture, and was like, okay, let's go.
and you tried to reproduce this, right? Because I think you sent me another picture.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, when we got home, we had like a bag of apples, pretty much, the same size. And like, I have all my driftwood in my shop, right? So I grabbed a stick, an appropriate size stick, and we tried to like shove them on, and it's actually really difficult. Like, we went through like probably 10 apples.
10 though, at least. Yeah, like, you can't just like stab a apple on a stick. Try it. Like, it's really actually pretty freaking difficult.
You split them more than not.
Oh yeah. Most of them just split apart.
Yeah,
so it took about like 10 apples to actually create that effect. But what we had to do was put the apple on and like tamp it down with another piece of stick or something like that, and really like basically hammer the thing on to get it all halfway down the stick. I mean, the one on top was pretty easy, but yeah. So that was that for that bizarre little encounter there with the apples.
And it's crazy to think that it wasn't us. There's something out there. Something did that.
With hands, something with hands.
Something with hands. Obviously, something with hands, and it was communicating with us, whatever it was. I mean, if it was something else, that's cool. I really couldn't see that it was a person,
right,
doing it, because I mean, that would have been crazy. Like, we're two guys
with a dog.
Who's gonna run up 20 feet away from the 10 and put these apples there, and then run up again and take them away,
and especially not have the dog react? Yeah, it's
exactly. Yeah. We didn't hear anything. Like, I heard a few things in the morning when I first got up that morning. I heard these weird chirping sounds in the forest that I couldn't really pinpoint from any mammal or bird. I'm pretty good with wildlife around here. Yeah, I'm a wildlife enthusiast out here, so I know my animal sounds in the woods, right? But this one was different. It was, but I couldn't really envision it being a person doing that.
Right. Yeah.
It made more sense to me that it was not a person doing that.
Yeah, it's a very bold, very quick person.
Oh yeah. Totally.
And quiet.
Yeah, super quiet.
Yeah. I understand. So then you came back to this. Was it the same area you came back to?
Yeah, same area. We wanted to go back because the apples kind of felt like an invitation.
It felt like communication. Like, it wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't a negative thing. It was
It
was inviting. It was an invitation almost.
Yeah, it had this kind of playful quality to it.
Sure.
The communication, like, oh, here's some apples. Oh, there they are. And then apples on a stick, and it just it had this really like. And we.
How could you not go back? Like,
I mean, hey, there's a mystery.
Like, I've never experienced anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Let's get in the mystery machine and go
right.
check. Right?
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
So we had in mind to go back there. It took about a month for us to actually do that. In between, we did the Sasquatch sculpture, which was super fun. And then I had another delivery to do in Vancouver. So I'm like, hey, let's go. Colin, do you want to go? Yeah,
let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's see what's shaking. So we did the delivery and then went out to the flats, and we stopped. It was like 8:30 at night, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. It was pitch dark, raining, but we wanted to kind of start off in the news, in the old spot there. So we got there, set up the tent, made a fire, put some music on, and just set about the night. Within 15 minutes of us being there,
going back, like our intentions of going there.
Oh yeah, the intentions. Yeah,
like our intentions.
That's super important.
Go
Yeah. Intention was kind of key. We weren't out there looking for Sasquatch or hunting Sasquatch. Our intention was, hey, we're just going to go out. We're going to do some camping, probably 2 or 3 days. Fishing, and just like have a good time. And if something happens, then it happens.
Then it is what it is.
Then it is what it is. But that was one of the intentions. And also one of the guidelines that I kind of set up prior to the trip was don't do any whoops, wood knocks, hollers, or anything.
We're just out there to have fun, and
So because I don't agree with the whole whooping and wood knocking and hollering thing. I find it kind of ignorant because we really don't know what those things mean.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. I can do a pretty good raven impression, and I used to like kind of talk with the ravens. And I used to call them over, and they'd look at me, and we'd be talking back and forth. But I quit that years ago because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm saying to you. I could be really pissing you off right now. Like, it could be gibberish. So that was one of the guidelines to prior to the trip. So yeah, we were out there, and within 15 minutes of setting up the fire and setting up the camp, we sat down, and there was a huge branch crack, probably about 20 feet back in the clearing there. And it was really calm. There was no rain, there was no wind, but this was like a significant branch crack, probably, I would say like an inch. It sounded like an inch thick diameter branch. And there was there was trees there, but I don't know. Could have been a branch falling from the tree.
There was no wind or anything.
But there's
no animals.
It was so calm.
I don't know. I kind of went like, "Ooh, what the hell?" Right?
Yeah. You were like, He had this look on his face.
15 minutes in, and we're like, we're already here.
I'm like, dude, just calm down. Just like the intention of the trip, we're just here to have fun and just like camp and whatever. Just don't worry about it. Just calm down. Yeah, just ignore it. Essentially, ignore it. Let's see. We also had some really strange smells come into camp that night. Like, we didn't really connect it. We were both smelling it, but the second time it came in, that's when I was like, "What's that smell?" And Colin's like, "Oh, yeah, no, I've been smelling that too." And it smelled horrible. It was like this honey smelling, like diarrhea smell.
I smell the feces.
Yeah, feces, but there was this like really sweet quality to it. I never smelled anything like that before, and it was definitely coming from outside the camp. Yeah.
So it wasn't the dead meat or skunk kind of smell that a lot of people describe.
No. It was more of a feces smell. That was, but very sweet too. It was like, I've never smelled anything like that.
Yeah, it was like, okay, never mind. It was like ripe. It was
ripe. It was definitely noticeable. Yeah. Nothing else really happened that evening. No, there was nothing that evening. But we wanted to check out this other spot upriver, because we checked out on satellite and it looked like there was this really cool clearing and the road going there. So we wanted to check that out the next day. So we did pack up the next day, but I knew that there was like really bizarre shanty cabins up the trail, upriver. And I asked Colin, I was like, "Hey man, do you want to go see those shanty cabins that I saw last
night?" Yeah, we've been talking about them. Like, I slept in that morning, so you went and took Kirby for a walk, and you'd found those, and I'd never seen them. And I was interested.
Yeah. It was.
Because it's bizarre.
Bizarre.
Right?
It's totally bizarre.
Yeah.
Totally bizarre. Just like garbage everywhere. It's just like it looked like a slum, you know. So yeah, we walk in there, and I know not to disturb anything because I've gone through experiences before and I've learned my lesson. Colin is a little innocent in that regard, and in retrospect, I should have been a little more aware of that. While we were checking out these like shanty huts, I went off to look at another one, and Colin was drawn inside. Do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, like, whoa, what is this place? It's just like all these shanties, like just garbage everywhere, and like I'm looking in these things, I'm curious, but it's like so weird. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And like I looked in this one place and it had like all these books and stuff, and then it looked like a degree on the wall. So I'm like, no way. And I like walked in, and I like walked inside, right? Like I passed the threshold. I was like looking, and it's like, oh, it's just a trucker certificate or something. So I kind of laughed, and then I looked over, and there was like, I thought it was like a 30-aught or a 30-30 shell, and I'm like, oh, I picked it up, and I thought it was a 30-06 shell, and then I looked over and I seen this basket. I don't know. I'm like into like, you know, weaving baskets stuff. Like that's cool stuff. So I was like, oh no way! And it was like a handmade basket. So I picked it up, and as soon as I did it like all these beads spilled out, and this dream catcher, and I was like, whoa! So I like picked up the dream catcher, and it had like this silver bear on it, and I was like, oh cool! And I was like, oh, I'm gonna show this to Alex. Like this is kind of really cool, right? Basket and stuff. And then and just as I was leaving, I was like, I don't feel good about it. And I literally like tossed it and like bounced off the floor. And I was just like, oh, I just felt really weird about it. And as soon as I came out, Alex was like, hey dude, look at this structure. So it was so crazy. It's like 30-foot cedar posts. There's 4 of them. And then there's like stairways up it. And then there's like
cage on top.
There's actually, the square, galvanized steel, like caged around it, and a door, and then like 2 seats. It looks like some weird lookout.
Oh, it's so weird.
And it was all rotten because I was gonna go like check it out or like climb it or something, and then I just got this feeling. Sorry.
That's okay.
No,
I
had this feeling, and it was basically the same time. We're like, we gotta go.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't stay here, dude. We gotta go.
So were there just like the doors were just open on these shanties? Or?
Oh yeah.
Like everything is knocked down, everything's almost fallen over, rotten.
Oh yeah, just like years and years of garbage, no floor space, it's just stuff everywhere.
That's kind of creepy though, right? Like
it's eerie. It was very eerie.
Yeah.
Totally.
Was there a worry that someone would come home? You know, did it look that recently occupied, or could you?
Oh no, not at all.
No,
oh, okay.
It's in an abandoned place for sure.
Yeah. I couldn't see anybody actually habitating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And describe this cage structure again. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it was probably about 35 feet tall, jutting out from the
cedar poles,
the hill.
And then just framed up about 8 feet, and then 3 stories.
Yeah, 3
and then
stories.
Like stairs going up it, and then just
this like viewing platform with
looked like a lookout, an old
wire
lookout.
Cage around it.
Yeah, with 2 empty
chairs in there. I couldn't really. It's a lot of work for like making something like that.
I don't know
just
what
a lookout. I don't even know what it's for.
I don't know what that's for.
Yeah, but we started feeling like really heavy. Like something was there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew something was there. I'm like, dude, we gotta go. Let's go.
I knew that immediately. I've never felt anything like this in my I've never felt anything like this. It felt like an anxiety attack, like times 10.
Yeah.
It was so super heavy. It was on me, and like all I did was just like we just went back to the camp.
Booked it out of there, back to the camp.
Well, you were starting to go to the truck. I went down to the river, and
Excuse me.
I literally walked in even with my shoes and like started putting water in my head. Like, this is weird.
And I'm like, oh, that's a good
weird.
idea. So I go down to the river too.
It's almost like cleansing. It was just like And
take
then,
my hat off and like splash
Alex,
water over.
Introduce that mantra that you.
Yeah. Only the light manter, because I was pretty adamant that we were being attacked by
I had no idea.
by an entity. So I introduced Colin to this mantra that I know, only the light may enter. And
is this a personal mantra, or is this something you learned somewhere?
It's something I learned, from a friend. Yeah. But I use it a lot. Yeah, so I started saying it, repeating it over and over and over. Colin couldn't really say it at first, though. He was like, like he was having a really hard time saying it.
Wow.
But within like 3 minutes or something like that, we were both chanting it together. And just like, we did some more washing with the river water, and we felt better after that.
So you just instinctively went to the river?
I did, man. I went straight for the river. I don't know. I had my shoes on and everything, man. And I just stepped into the river and just started putting water over my head. Like, I've never felt that feeling. It was just super, super heavy. And I don't know why, but that's what I did.
I'm glad you did that, because that helped.
Oh, it did.
It
did. I felt, and then after the mantra, like, and not being able to get it out, like not even being able to say those words.
Yeah,
it was scary. Like, that was just like the first part of this.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So we booked it out of there after that. We felt better. Got in the truck, and I think we went.
I felt good after that. I felt good, and we went to town, and we weren't going to let that hinder our trip, because we were here to we were there for like 3 days.
Yeah,
so that's what we were doing
there for 3 days. Yeah.
So
we went to town, got some more supplies, and then went back to the other spot that I had seen on the map there, and we drove in, and we were just like, oh, this is the spot. This is like, it's a nice, like, clear campsite overlooking the river. There's this like huge rock island in the middle of the river, just like gorgeous spot. And so we set up camp there. That night that we were there was only a couple of things that happened. We started smelling a new smell that came into the camp. It wasn't like the old smell, but we definitely smelt it 2 times, and we smelt it the same. Or we smelled it at the same time. It was more of a pungent, like sour, fecal odor, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feces again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But different from the previous.
Oh yeah, definitely different from the previous. Yeah, but still the same in that it just wafted into camp. Mm-hmm. We'd be smelling nothing but like campfire smoke and fresh air, and then all of a sudden it'd be like, whoa,
but literally look at each other.
Yeah, look at each other, smell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you
smell it too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There we go.
Like what?
Yeah.
I was one time with a friend of mine in an area we like to go to, and I walked through. It was a literal wall of stink. Now this was that, like I said, that kind of skunky dead animal smell, but it was so bizarre because you could walk through it and get through it and not smell it, and turn around and walk back through it again. We did it several times. It was I've never.
Isn't that I've heard several accounts of that. Yeah.
I've never experienced
like a
that.
wall.
Yeah, it's like just this section of air that stank, and then we could walk through it and out of it. It was really weird. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, next day, I guess. Yeah, next day we were cutting firewood. We brought like half a truckload of wood, but it was kind of going fast. So we were like, okay, let's get out the tools and start getting some wood. So Colin was chopping some wood.
Yeah, probably 100 yards from camp.
100 yards from camp.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I just heard this this vocal. I've never heard it before. It was like sounded like a duck. That's poor words, but it sounded like a duck, but with syllables, because I've never heard a bird. Like there was 5 syllables. It was like mena mena wa.
Mena 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 wa.
Yeah.
Mena 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 wa. Yeah. Mena 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 mena.
And it was just like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah. And I was coming over from the train tracks.
Right, which was 300 yards from us.
300 yards. Yeah.
So,
or sorry, feet.
Right,
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Colin
Came back to
He came down to camp and he's like, "Oh man, I hear this weird noise." It was like a duck, but had syllables. And I'm like, "What? Okay."
So you just heard that once?
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you before or since heard the the recordings, what they called like the samurai chatter and stuff like that?
We were actually listening to
gosh,
that the other day. I had heard that previously. It did not sound like the samurai chatter, like, but some of the previous ones where the two are like jibber jabbering back and forth. I was like, whoa, oh, that's
chills.
Whoa! It just gave me chills. That little section right there where it's like, it was like, whoa. Yeah.
So it did have in common with that, with the Sierra sounds, say?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah, and I ended up hearing it myself.
But you didn't know this at the time?
No, I didn't know this at the time.
Oh, that's
Well, I had heard the Sierra sounds before, for sure. But I didn't make any connection until actually just a couple nights ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it was such a bizarre sound to hear. I ended up hearing it the next night, I think it was. Yeah. Twice.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely bizarre.
If, let's say, it was saying something, we don't know that, but let's say, so do you think it was saying the same word or series of words each time?
No.
Okay, so it kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, it changed for me, and I think it changed for you. It was still the same vocalization.
Had the same character, but different utterance, say.
Yeah,
yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing else happened that night, right?
No, nothing. Yeah.
Nothing else happened that night. And then the next day, we had actually brought some green apples. It was like, okay, well, yeah, we'll do some communication. We'll do some gifting back, like we did with the peaches. So the next day, probably about noon or so, I'm like, hey man, you want to? Let's go do a gifting.
Well, we plan to at least hike the train track.
Yeah,
just go around.
Yeah, just
have
go
a
around,
hike.
have a hike, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh
beautiful
yeah,
place.
Gorgeous place. So yeah, we went up to the rail line to where Colin had heard the vocalization, hopped over the rail line, hopped over the service road, and went about another 100 feet until we came up against this big, like, mossy cliff or embankment. And there was this really cool stump there. So yeah, I took out my 2 apples, put them on the stump, and I also had a couple of little chocolate bars, and I put those there as well. And I basically just put my hands up and said to the embankment, "Here's some gifts for you." And yeah, we just kind of walked off. Yeah. But you wanted to climb the embankment, right?
Right. Yeah.
Colin's a climber. You've done what, like 72?
Yeah, I've done
peaks
72 peaks in the Canadian Rockies.
Wow.
Ice climbing, trad climbing, mountaineering, glacier, So I wanted to say that I didn't go out into the woods and just scare myself. Still today, in the last couple of days, I've been out in the bush. I didn't go up to scare, I didn't go and scare myself.
No. And you know where you are at all times.
Oh my God, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
This was 300 yards from camp when the actual store.
Yeah. But you didn't feel like climbing the embankment for some reason.
Yeah, no, I just actually said I was going to. And
you were going to?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, so we did the gifting. We headed back to camp and just hung around and enjoyed the view, made some dinner and whatnot. And I think it was about 7:30 that night that I was...
You just gotten back?
Yeah, I had just gotten back because I went to town again, and Colin had some solo time near the campfire, and you were like, "Oh, I want." Well, it'd be nice for you to have some solo time.
Well, I mean, I had spent an hour because you forgot your wallet, and you had to go back, and then you had to go back. So I had a good hour, maybe a good hour, and it's the Fraser River. It's so beautiful, and I was just had the music going. It was beautiful, and I was just Alex was talking to a good friend, and I just thought, give him some privacy, and I'm gonna go we were going to take pictures on the whole thing about, like, we were going to have fun with that, but I was going to go take some pictures of the apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went off to go see the apples. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure.
Right.
But your headlamp, like the stereo had died, so we put your batteries from
in the headlamp.
your headlamp in
Yeah.
the stereo. And
So
so I
you
was
didn't
like,
have headlamp.
so I was
So you
like,
can't-
here, yeah.
I didn't have mine, so you
Yeah,
gave yours.
so I gave you the only headlamp.
Right.
Okay, so just because this is strange familiars, I have to ask, did the batteries die naturally, or did they seem to die prematurely?
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about that, those batteries have been in there. They've been going for a good long time.
So
Ever since I've had that stereo, but they died right then. So yes, I see where you're going with that, for sure.
But they could have died. I mean, it could have been natural.
They could have died naturally. Yes.
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. For sure, because it's been forever.
No, they were not fresh batteries. but
Okay, all right.
That was it. That was okay. Yeah, that was an opportune little spot for them to die in, because then we only had one headlamp, which comes into play.
Right.
For sure. Colin was gone for like a good 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, I went for a walk.
I kind of forgot about him. He went for a walk to find the apples. I was just messaging my friends. I didn't even think about him. And then I hear some whoops. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I bolt up. I was like, what the? Then I was like, oh, it's Colin's voice. Oh, God. So I thought he was just like being funny or wanting to know the way back to camp. So I started yelling back at him, hey, over here, and just jesting. And within seconds, his voice turns into pure terror. And he's screaming my name. Alex! Alex! And I'm like, oh, stuff just got real. And I instantly went into crisis mode and hopped in the truck. I reversed really fast and bolted down the trail to where I thought I had heard him.
So your purpose for getting in the truck was because you didn't have a headlamp at this point?
Yeah. I didn't have a headlamp, so I wanted to get as close as I could, as fast as possible. And I stopped, turned the truck off, I honked, and was yelling out the window. And I could still hear him screaming my name. I've never heard anybody like that before. I've never heard that terror in anyone's voice. And I yelled at him, Colin, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. And that was at the point where I heard him yelling, F you, F off. And I'm like, I can't go in there because I don't have a headlamp. If I go in this way, I think things are going to get worse. So the only safe route that I felt was the train tracks, which was 1 kilometer down the road. So I slammed the truck into gear, 60 kilometers down this winding trail. It was pretty darn unsafe, but I was just thinking about like Colin, and I just got to get to him as fast as I possibly can and as safe as I possibly can. The whole time I'm going down the trail, I'm honking my horn, letting him know that I'm coming. I get down. It's about 1 kilometer to where the trail actually meets the tracks. And I skidded up to the tracks, honked my horn again, and leapt out of the truck and yelled for him again. And I could hear him 1 kilometer away, like screaming, still screaming my name. And so I just book it. I start running. I think that's the fastest I've ever ran before. And this was on train tracks too, so it wasn't the best running track, but I was just booking it. And the whole time I'm running as fast as I can, I'm yelling for Colin, I'm screaming that I'm coming, and I'm also yelling at the top of my lungs, Only the light may enter. Leave him be. And just that over and over and over again. I get about halfway, and I'm yelling for him again. And I can't hear him. And worry starts to creep in. And really kind of bad thoughts. And I'm like, no, I'm not going there. I thought the worst had happened. So I just put that out of mind and kept on going. And I'm going up those tracks. It's pitch dark out. I can't see anything. I've got no headlamp, but at least I've got the rails to guide me. And yeah, I am running. I still can't hear him. And then all of a sudden I hear these defeated cries, and I see his headlamp. I'm like, God, yes, okay. So I slow down. I'm like, Colin, I'm here. It's okay. I'm here. And as I'm walking up, Colin yells at me. You want to take that one?
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I kind of want to go through my experience.
Yeah. I want to get what you're going through this whole time. So
okay, should we drop it there then?
Well,
stop my experience.
No. See what you.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you say what you heard, and then we'll go back and we'll see what Colin was going through the whole time. Yeah.
I'm looking down. The grade is like 6 feet, and he's basically on his knees and hands and knees in the bush, just like defeated cries. And I'm like, Colin, I'm here. And he looks up and he yells, "Are you Alex?" And I'm like, what? He's like, "Are you Alex?" And I'm like, yes. My name is Jamie Alexander Whitcomb. I'm your friend. And at that point, he's just like, just absolutely defeated.
Just hit my knees, done.
Yeah.
Strange Familiars is brought to you by our patrons. If you'd like to help us continue to make Strange Familiars, if you enjoy the content we make and you want to hear more Strange Familiars, consider becoming a patron at Patreon. Go to patreon.com/strangefamiliars. For $3 a month, you can get extra shows. We do at least one full extra show for our patrons every month. We try to do more than that. There are different levels of support there as well if you want to get t-shirts, pins, stickers, and more. Go to patreon.com/strangefamiliars. Of course, I want to thank all of our patrons. Without the patrons, there would be no Strange Familiars. So thank you for your continued support. If you want to make a one-time contribution to the show, in the show notes at strangefamiliars.com, there is a paypal.me link. You can click that link and send any amount you'd like. You just have to change the last number after the slash to whatever number you want. We have it set at 25, but you can make it more or less. But as always, the best way to support Strange Familiars is from our Patreon, patreon.com/strangefamiliars. At this point in the recording, we took a break and we stepped away from the computer. I went to get a drink and Alex and Colin went to take a break as well. But we left the recorders running. And this showed up on their end. They were recording on their end as I was recording on mine. And they got what appears to be an EVP on their recording. Again, I couldn't hear it on mine. I listened for it on my recording as well, but it seems like it only came up on theirs. It's a voice that seems to whisper Alex. It's very strange. At this time, we were all away from our respective computers. Alex and Colin were recording together at one computer. They had stepped away from theirs. I had stepped away from my computer where I was recording. So we don't know who or what this is, but it says Alex almost certainly. I'll play a longer clip of the break, and you can hear the EVP kind of whispered at the end.
And at that point, he just like, just absolutely defeated.
Just hit my knees, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim, can we take a quick pause?
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay. Just a washroom break.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get a drink, that's fine.
Okay.
And now I'll just play the EVP itself 3 times, so you can hear that whispered Alex, it says. Not only were we away from our respective computers, but Alex was just pointing out that his story kind of ended there with him talking about how Colin was calling his name, Alex, over and over again. So it's an interesting time for an EVP of his name to pop up there. And now we'll go back to Alex and Colin with their story. Colin, let's go back and hear your part of the story, if you don't mind. Like, so you went off to
see the apple.
Yeah, to check the apples.
So, Alex got back and he was talking to his friend. And, so I just decided I was going to go take a picture of the apples. I was just going for a walk. It's literally like 300 feet. It's not very far at all. So I got to the train tracks, and which I thought was like where it was. You had to dip into this, this muddy like pit and then jump over it and then go into the woods. And then you go to where the cliff face is, right? Like it's right there. The first time I went in there, I was just like, oh, where the heck are they? I couldn't find them. So then I came back, and then I was sitting at the train tracks and had a beer and a smoke, and I was just, just killing time. And like it's a beautiful spot, man. Like it was awesome. So I was just sitting there, and I'm like, no, I gotta get the picture of the apples, man. Like I gotta get the picture. So I'm like, I'll go back in there. They gotta be like right there. They're right there, right? Okay, right. So then I do the whoops. Like, okay, so I was drinking, and this is all like new to me. This is I don't know. It's different, man. It's super different. I mean, like, I guess I was drinking, and I was, I don't know, maybe feeling cocky. Like, I mean, like, I was just like, whatever. And so I yelled back to Alex and did the whoops, right? And I guess he answered me back, but I didn't hear him. And then I went to look for the apples. So that was my mistake. So within minutes, I heard the duck chatter. Like I was just walking in the bush. It wasn't very long. Like I just gotten in there, and I heard this, like what I heard earlier, the mena-mena-wah. Like the mena-mena-wah. Like it was.
Was it the same syllables though?
No. It was just like mena-mah or something.
Yeah.
But it was the same. It was like the same vocalization.
Yeah.
I kind of
15 feet away, right?
Yeah, it was 15 feet away, and it was like right there. I couldn't see even with my headlamp, and I kind of just was like, oh. And I wasn't out there. I didn't scare myself going out in the bush. Since then, I've been out in the bush. I'm not, like I didn't scare myself. It was something, man.
When this sounded off with the chatter sound, it sounded 15 feet away. Is what you're saying? It sounded close.
Yeah, it was right there. So I immediately just turned around and started walking. When I heard twigs snap and like I heard the bush leaves and like I heard something there. There's something there, right? And so I started walking faster. And then I'm like, after this, I started like running a little bit quicker. And I heard Alex's voice. I'm like, oh, okay, like he's off the phone now. He came back. And so I heard Alex's voice. So
30 feet away. Right?
Yeah, about 30 feet away. So I'm like, okay, well, there's Alex. I was just like, oh, dude, I'm going to tell him, whoa, I just heard that same thing. So I run up there, and there's nothing there. And the adrenaline, like, coursing through me, I was like, whoa, there's nothing there. Like, I just heard Alex. All of a sudden, okay, this is a trip. Okay, so it was like a vibrational impact. It was like Okay, so to the right of me, it was like 15 feet to the right of me, it was like zoop, like this, this like zoop, like this vibrational, and then not even a second later, in front of me, 15 feet over, zoop, and then out to the left of me, zoop. So it was just like boom, boom, like zoop, 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 and it was like vibrational, and it just brought me to my knees, and I'm like...
So it's a sound you're hearing.
And a vibration and a feeling and this like, okay, so when this happened, it was like zoop, 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 just like boom, boom, boom. It was like something like that's not humanly possible. That's not any animal. That was in
other words, it wasn't something being thrown.
No, it was like 45 feet because like it's 15 feet to my right and then to in front of me to the left of me. And this is in seconds. So 45 feet just woof, woof, woof. And everything that I experienced earlier, I was just like, this is supernatural, man. It was either a witch or like it was Sasquatch. Like, I mean, like something was really like it scared the hell out of me, man. And it brought me to my knees, and I mustered up, and I got to my feet, and I ran the opposite direction. And I'm looking for the train tracks. I mean, they're not far, man. I just went in there, and I could not find them. And I was running. I don't know how long I was running, man. I don't know how long I was running because he took a while to like he had to run the whole track. So I'm running, and all of a sudden I hear this thrashing behind me, and all the foliage, like all the branches and the trees and the leaves and everything, it was just getting closer and closer. It was like it was coming towards me, and it's right behind me, and it's 10 feet above me, so I can hear my footsteps. I can hear that's me. I don't hear footsteps. All I hear are the trees rustling above me. Like, it's right behind me. It's 10 feet up. It's following, and I'm just like, I think I'm gonna get like run over, torn apart. I mean, like, I know the bush, man. Like I said, I'm a climber since I was 14 years old. I've hunted since I was 7. I've, all this stuff. You know this. Like, it's just, and this thing was right behind me, and I fell because I was running. Like, I didn't care what was hitting me, anything. I was running as fast as I could, and I wasn't like, I don't know. It's hard to say, man. But I mean, I fell, and then I just belted out like, F you, F off. Like, I thought I was just going to get steamrolled by something. Like, this was...
When you stopped,
I thought it was...
It stopped.
Yeah, and then that's when I heard you honking.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I heard Alex. I'm going to run to Alex. So I started running that way, and I'm still totally lost. Like, where are the train tracks? Where are the train tracks? I mean, why can't I find them? Like, it was the most frightening thing I've ever been through in my life. I've worked the rigs. I've almost died on the rigs. I climb. I've almost died climbing. Like, I mean, this was the most intense thing I've ever been through in my life. And I thought Alex was that way. So finally, I'm running, and Alex said he found me on the left side of the tracks.
Yeah.
But
the apples were on the right.
I never found the train tracks.
Yeah.
I never found the train tracks, but apparently, like, maybe I was so frightened that it wasn't like that. No, I never found the tracks, and I was on the left side of the tracks. Anyways, I heard him, and that's when I was like, "Oh, are you Alex?" Because I finally heard him, because I had already been fooled once before, and I was like, "Oh, are you Alex?" And then I knew it was Alex, and you know what? Right then, all that energy, all the terrifying, like, whatever was going on was gone. And, like, we literally walked the train tracks back.
Yeah.
And then...
you started right in. You're like, oh, my God. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Shut up, man. Shut up, man. Just, like, let's get back to camp. Yeah. So, yeah, we walked the train tracks. And it was odd that he was behind me with the headlamp, because this cast a, like, dark lumbering shadow in front of me that looked very much like a Sasquatch.
Right.
Yeah. It took forever. It seemed to take forever to get back to the truck. We finally did. hopped in.
I'm just like, how did you find me? How did you find me? Like, all my screams and stuff, I didn't think were being heard. I didn't think Alex could hear me. Like, after I heard his truck, I really didn't think any, like, I was just being chased through the woods. But we figured that, I guess, you're just getting escorted out.
That's kind of what it seemed like to me, anyways.
The one time when you thought you heard him, or when you did hear him and it wasn't him, he wasn't there.
Right.
Do you remember? Did he say something specific?
No, I just knew it was Alex. Like, over here, it was just something that, okay, Alex is there. And then I ran to, I booked it over there. It's 30 feet away. So I'm like, and then when it wasn't Alex, then it was that, yeah.
Soup.
Yeah, and just, I knew it was supernatural, man. And when I came back to camp, I said, that was a witch. That was,
he was so agitated when we got back to camp. He's just, like, walking around in a circle. He's just like, holy God. Holy.
I mean,
that was the most terrifying thing ever. That was either a Sasquatch or a god witch, man.
Oh, man.
Holy. It calmed down as soon as we got back to camp, though. It was a safe spot. So
it was a safe spot with, like, just doing grounding and just, like, that. I felt totally comfortable. Yeah. But as soon as we got back to camp, dude.
Oh, what, the noises?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we got back to camp, and I'm like, sit down, have a beer. I'll make you some food because that's gonna make you feel better, right? I started making some soup for us, and Colin related his whole experience, right? And he was exhausted, obviously. He'd just gone through this hellish, traumatic experience.
Sure,
and he's just like, oh, I got nothing left. I'm going to bed. And I heard the... Oh, the crash! Oh, yeah.
Crash.
Oh, yes.
Crash.
Okay. Not soon after...
We actually didn't even get to the fire before we heard the crash.
Oh, okay. I thought we were sitting down. Okay.
I don't even remember getting to camp before we heard that. I remember getting out of the truck and hearing that and being like, what is that?
So, yes, okay. In any case, we're back at camp, and from the rail line, we hear a couple of sounds. It doesn't sound like a train or anything like that. It's like this... Oh, we forgot about the train, too.
True.
Yeah. Let's go back to that, if I could. When I got Colin back up onto the tracks, when I first found him, we walked about 30 seconds, and then I noticed a southbound coming train. And so I kind of led him off to a safe spot, and the train went by. It was a super long train, and it was so intense to experience that close. We're probably, 15 feet away or something like that?
Oh, not even.
Yeah, not even. But one of the noises, like, really stuck out to us in particular, and we noticed this after when we got back to Hope for breakfast.
We were having breakfast.
Yeah, because the zoop noises came up. I'm like, well, what about the zoop noises? And when this train passed, the noise that happened between the cars was the same noise that zoop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to backtrack.
Were you up against like why couldn't you get further away? I guess were you up against brush or were you up against rock or what?
We were just at the edge of the forest.
Yeah, because we're gonna cross.
Yeah.
As soon as we were gonna cross, we seen a train. So then we had to wait for this huge long train to go by.
Yeah.
So
we didn't want to go back in the woods. I didn't want to lead him into the woods.
Right, and then which obviously compromises your hearing too, so you can't hear what's going on around you. With the train going right by, that's got to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, it was a cool experience to see a train. But anyways, yeah. So, okay, back at camp, he tells his story. Colin tells his story. And after he tells his story, we hear these noises coming from the rail line. And it's like this... And then this unbelievably huge crash. It sounded like an accident.
Like twisted metal.
Oh,
like
it was so loud. And we're, whoa, what the hell was that?
Right?
And it sounded like there had been an accident, but there was no trains. Like, we didn't hear any trains. We just hear these, like, rah, 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 and then boom, crash, ah, rah, and nothing after that. Complete silence.
Like, what was that?
Yeah. What the hell was that? And in any other case, I'd be like, oh my God, there was an accident. Like,
let's go help.
Yeah, let's go help.
Yeah.
But after that, what we just experienced, I kind of had this little feeling that, no, you shouldn't go out there. So I didn't. And I didn't hear any other noises until after Colin went to sleep.
Yeah, I ate my soup. I was exhausted from the day. I was done. And I went to sleep.
Yeah, as soon as your head hit the pillow, I heard you snoring, man.
Yeah, I was done.
So, yeah, I'm sitting there after Colin's asleep, probably for about 20 minutes. I'm just doing some writing by the fire. And I hear the duck noise coming from just north by the train tracks. And it sounded like...
And is that the first time you had heard it?
That's the first time I had heard it, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's a duck noise. Holy crap. Pretty much right after that, maybe 30 seconds, I think it was 30 seconds, I start hearing the grinding of metal near the train tracks. Like, I'm like, what is going on? So I get up out of my chair, and I'm listening to this grinding metal sound for probably about 3-4 minutes near the train tracks. And you can, like, see the train tracks too. Like, it's a straight distance. There's a few trees in the way, but you can, like, we could see the trains going by. We could see their lights from camp. But I was looking, and I couldn't see any lights whatsoever. I couldn't see anything. All I could hear was this, like, grinding metal sound. And it stopped. And I was like, okay, well, all right. So I do some more writing, and then I'm tired, so I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. That was an intense night. Oh, my God. I'm ready for bed. So I get into bed, and within 3 minutes of hitting my head to the pillow, I hear the duck noise again. And this time it's from the left, which is north upriver. And it was nowhere near the train tracks. It was like kind of on the river up north. And it did the same thing again, but sounded different. Like, it was a little bit longer this time. And again, within 30 seconds, noises started popping up. The first was another grinding sound, where I heard the last duck noise, like north up the river. And this was nowhere near the train tracks, mind you. And then accompanying that sound within like 30 seconds, all of a sudden there's like bashes, crashes, bangs, all sorts of noises, all around. It wasn't over at the train tracks. It was to the left. It was to the right. It almost seemed behind where the river, like my head was like facing the river. So it almost seemed behind as well. And the whole forest was coming alive with these noises. And it was loud. And I didn't think to record it. I had my iPad outside. I'd left it outside. So I didn't think to like grab a device or get out of the tent, grab something and record this. I wish I did. But even in the midst of all that horrendous, like bash, crash, bang, blah, 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 I was tuning in to this grinding metal sound. And it started to sound like melodic, like morphing into music. It reminded me of when they take the old logging saws and they make musical instruments out of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it went from like, into like, and like super melodic, and I was kind of entranced by it, and that's all I was really focusing on, when even though all these other noises were happening around at the same time. And then again it just stopped and quiet, and that was pretty much that. I eventually went to sleep. We woke up, packed up, let's get the heck out of here.
Was that day 3, or did you leave early?
That was day 3. No, we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't leave early. Yeah, that was day 3.
Would you have stayed again if you had plans to?
No.
You were done.
Colin definitely wanted out. I was good too. I was tired, so I was like, "Yeah, let's go."
But I can say that I learned my lesson. I mean, not my lesson, but it really opened my eyes to something bigger, and I don't see myself going back there ever again. But it's amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's one of the more amazing experiences I've had.
So
I wasn't even experiencing it.
You even during the day, you're not going to go back?
I'm not sure yet, but I think that I know that that's there, and like, I mean, it was terrifying, and I think whatever it was just escorting me out of there. I wasn't in danger. Like, yeah, I was freaking out at the time. I don't think I was in any danger, but at the same time, it was real, and like, it was nothing I've ever experienced before, and it was just.
And that's why it was so frightening too.
Oh my god! Like, right now, I'm just like.
Like, when you go up against a bear, when you meet a bear in the woods.
I mean, I would be
it's
more
scary,
comfortable.
but
I know what to do.
You know the situation, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, your choice of words are very interesting to me. The fact that you said "witch" is very interesting, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, will you go back?
I would go back, yeah.
You go back?
Yeah.
So, sort of finishing up this part of the interview, what were your impressions? So it has a lot of hallmarks of Sasquatch encounters.
It does.
But you didn't see a creature. Neither one of you saw a creature. Am I correct in that?
No,
Right.
no. There was only smells and vocalizations. That's it.
Right. What's your gut feeling? Do you think it was Sasquatch or?
Well, depends on what your interpretation of Sasquatch is, or my interpretation. As you said on that, Where Did the Road Go? Your view on what Sasquatch Bigfoot has changed a lot, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's gone from flesh and blood to something entirely different and a lot more. And I get that impression. I definitely do. I think Sasquatch is a hell of a lot more than just an undiscovered hominid creeping in the woods. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we didn't see anything, but like the hallmarks are there. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I think that's an honest answer. I don't know is obviously the only answer you can give. But wow, very intense. The sounds. I'm very interested in all the sounds, and it was really neat. Like, it's one thing to read your email, but to hear you do this sort of the imitation of the duck chatter and the.
That's why I said so at the beginning.
The grinding as it turns into that sort of more musical.
Yeah,
is very, very interesting because these, we get these rare reports of like singing and music along with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare.
Yeah, and the opera singing.
Yeah,
and even Skinwalker with the drilling.
Right.
Yeah, and there's this like drilling sound from apparently nowhere, like underground or something like that. I came across that later. I was like listening to something about Skinwalker Ranch, and I was like, oh yeah, whoa.
Alan Berry, who was at the Moorhead camp, he was at the Sierra camp with Moorhead in the 70s. He wrote a book in 76, or was published in 76, and it's been out of print, I think, ever since. with a paperback. But if you get that book, and I know Ron Moorhead has been talking about the weirder stuff lately, but for many years you didn't hear about it. You heard only about the stuff that sounded flesh and blood.
Totally.
In regards to Sierra Camp. Well, this book talks about the weird stuff, and he does mention the underground drilling in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so back in 1976, they were hearing that. He mentions weird lights up there around the Sierra Camp. He's like, one thing that sticks in my head, he said they could rub their feet on the ground and make the lights come on, which is bizarre.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's completely bizarre. You didn't happen to see any weird lights while you were out there, or notice any?
No weird lights. No,
nothing like that.
No, I was kind of expecting to see, maybe some orbs bobbing through the woods, but no, nothing except a Colin's headlamp. So,
well, we're gonna cut this off, this part of the story, and we're gonna do a tease for our patrons. So we're gonna do more with Alex and Colin, and we're gonna talk about this weird woman because there's much more to it. And we'll do that for the patrons. But thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Just hang on 1 second. Alex and Colin's story will continue on episode 64. That's a patron episode. Patreon.com/strangefamiliars. You can find Alex's sculptures at Drifted Creations. If you look up Drifted Creations on Facebook or Instagram, you can find them there. I'll put a link in the show notes as well at strangefamiliars.com. Last episode, we put the call out for some extra contributions to the podcast if you could afford it. And several people did answer that. I never know whether people want to be named on the podcast when they do things like this. I don't know if people want their names public or not, but these PayPal Me donations that come in, they're not linked to people's email addresses, so I can't even send them emails and thank them. And I did want to acknowledge them. Thank you so much if you sent a donation. I'm just going to use first names and last initials, and hopefully you'll know who you are. Lars L., Tim K., TJ G., William L., Anthony G., Eric C., and also Adam L. is possibly, if not solving, certainly helping with our computer issues. So thank you, Adam L., as well. Thanks, everybody. And of course, thanks all you patrons. Thanks for listening, everybody, and more Strange Familiars soon. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts, music, books, art, podcasts, and more. darkhollerarts.com. If you're on Facebook, look us up, facebook.com/strangefamiliars. And you can find the Strange Familiars Gathering group on Facebook as well. Intro and background music is by Stone Breath. Go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com for more. Now stuck among the grass. This leaf from a barren branch now blows upon the wind, and the white hair from my head now floats upon the sea. And all my fathers look on my face and say they never knew me. Come into the well with me, I take my drink from there. Wade into the water with me, and you will find me there. The spider from its web was taken, now crawls upon the ground. This fish from the river leapt, now rise upon the shore. And sing into the wind and through the twisted tree. And all my mothers turn away and say they never bore me. Come into the well with me. I take my drink from there. Wade into the water with me, and you will find me there. Come into the well with me. I take my drink from there. Wade into the water with me, and you will find me there.